All right, I'm just going to go ahead and get into this book real quick. Good day to all you comic book fans out there. I wanted to make a quick video to show this issue. Hey, everybody out there, comic book fans. I just wanted to make a video here to talk about one of my favorite issues in the Secret Wars run. Secret Wars was a great miniseries. If I remember correctly, it was Marvel's first big crossover event as far as having under the title of one series, having a 12-issue run, combining all the characters into one storyline. It was their big event comic book. Before this, they had miniseries before. Of course, they had Contest of Champions, which I loved as a kid. I thought it was a great book. Another story for another conversation for another time. But Contest of Champions came first. Of course, they did have their epic storylines, such as, hey, how's it going? I'm going to make this quick. Hey, everybody out there in comic book land. This book right now has been getting a lot of love. It's been getting a lot of interest. I heard a lot of people are looking forward and buying it up on the internet because it's become kind of a sought after key issue. And the reason why it's become a key issue is because the one of the characters in the book, a super villainess or villain, however you want to refer to her, by the name of Titania, is introduced in this issue of Secret Wars. But I wanted to point out something to anybody that's buying these comic books. People that are buying them for speculation, to have the first appearance of a character, to have it graded, have it slabbed, as they say, put on your wall. A lot of these books, you should actually take a minute and flip through them and read them because they've got some really cool content in them. And if nothing else, you get a kind of a look at how the mindset of comic writers back then were and how the characters were portrayed. This particular issue is very, very interesting. It was one of my favorite issues from the Secret Wars run, because it spotlighted, a character that I loved as a kid, still love as an adult, and millions of people love him as well, and that's Spider-Man. And even though this issue is the first appearance of Titania, that's why people are buying this issue because of that. This issue's got a really, I guess you can say, key moment, because it has an encounter between Spider-Man and the X-Men. And what's cool about it, when I was younger reading this, is that it really shows Spider-Man as what he really is. He is one of Marvel's best characters, not just as far as narrative is concerned, but as far as in the universe of the Marvel universe, he's one of their I don't want to say one of the powerful characters, but he's very capable. He's almost like a wisecracking Batman in the sense that he can figure out how to beat an opponent because he's smart. He's a real smart kid. But on top of that, he's got super strength, he's got super speed, he's got all these different abilities that make him a match for anybody. Now, as the years have gone by and everyone has, read all these comic books, I feel like they might diminish that a little bit. They start showing him with other characters. Of course, they start holding their own with him, and it's just I get it to make him a little bit more human, more vulnerable. Because obviously, a character that's too powerful, isn't as interesting. I mean, take Superman for instance. He wasn't interesting when he was super, super powerful, but when they brought him down a couple notches and made him vulnerable, he became a more interesting character. Peter Parker's always been an interesting character in the sense that he always had issues and problems, and he had things he had to deal with. But again, I think that in the last couple of years, as far as the power level is concerned, they've kind of come off a little bit. But what's cool about this book is, like I said, that this is the first appearance of Titania. But when you're buying these books, you're going to put them in a slab, grade them, however you want to call it, and put away for history, or maybe later on down the road as an investment. That's great, but take a minute to look at some of these books, because sometimes on the insides, and I'd say most of the times inside, these books have some really interesting things that that's a shame that if you just slab it and never open it and never read it again. If nothing else, get a trade paperback or an omnibus or whatever and read the stories, because these are some classic stories, and whatever you're getting now comes from these creators back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Not just the guys that wrote books 3 months ago, 4 months ago, last year, that are selling for triple the price they were sold for on the shelf, which is fine. That's great. But these classic books, man, they've got some good stuff. And these guys are writing books nowadays owe a lot to these original writers, because that's where they get these ideas from. They're not coming out of nowhere. They're coming from some very specific places. But needless to say, what was cool about this book is, like I said, on the cover, of course, you see Spider-Man facing off with the X-Men on the cover. The inside battle really is not that quick. It's not, I mean, not that fat, not that long, I should say. But Mike Zeck is a great artist, by the way, as you can see. But I don't want to go too much into it and show everything, but let's just say that Spider-Man meets the X-Men. Okay, if you haven't already read this book, he meets the X-Men. There's a misunderstanding, like it always is when comic books, with superheroes fighting superheroes, a misunderstanding of some sort, and they get into a scrap. But the scrap only lasts a few pages. And I do mean a few pages. And in those few pages, Spider-Man really hands it to the X-Men. And it's not just because he's Spider-Man. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, what he does and how he's able to handle them, it makes sense. It makes lots of sense. I mean, ultimately, they get the upper hand because of Professor X. But before that, he shows why he is one of Marvel's best characters. Still is, But like I said, if you get a chance, grab Secret Wars, grab a trade paperback, grab this actual issue if you can. Go through it. It's a good book. It's a good read for the time. Obviously, this was a long time ago for some of you folks out there, but it's a really good series. Secret Wars was great. It's Marvel's first big event series that combined all the characters. I mean, they had big things happen. They had the death of Phoenix. They had the Kree Skrull War. They had lots of things happen, but this was a nice collected 12-issue miniseries that involved all your favorite characters in one series, and that started it. From then on, you had of course, Secret Invasion. You had Fear itself. You had you can say Galactic, Operation Galactic Storm. You had all kinds of stuff. House of M. It all had to start somewhere, and Secret Wars was the big start to that. Now, prior to this, of course, Marvel did have the miniseries. They did have Contest of Champions. There's a 3-issue miniseries, which I highly recommend. And once again, you need to look at that book from the lens of somebody in the 80s, okay, and someone that's looking for the first time and seeing these characters meet for the first time in some instances. So you can't just think about everything that's happening now. But if you look at it from where the books were at that time, it's pretty cool stuff. Contest of Champions is great. So like I said, if you get a chance, and that's something we can talk about another time, but if you get a chance, pick up Secret Wars, find a collected edition of it if you can. If you are buying this issue offline from somebody, if you're going to go ahead and online, or you're going to get it from wherever, take a minute to go through it. It's a really cool book. And if you're a Spider-Man fan, like I said, this is a key issue because of She-Hulk TV series coming up on Disney Plus because of Titania. But it's a key issue. If you like Spider-Man, this is a key issue because it really does show you what he's all about. Okay, just had to put that out there. It's something that I thought was pretty cool. And like I said, one day I'm going to go ahead and probably part ways with this book myself. But before I do that, I wanted to pass it on to everybody out there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great life.